Same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to particularly try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We're still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
the patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it. That'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Betsy Woodruff. I am a politics reporter at the Daily Beast, in for Bill Press today, which is very exciting. I'm so happy everybody's awake at this beautiful but very frigid morning. DC was not super toasty, but that's totally okay. Today, this is Bill Press Show. We are live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. Free Speech is seen on DirecTV and Dish. Talker is available on YouTube, youtube.com/TawkrTV, spelled TAWKR, of course. You can follow us on Twitter at BP Show. You can call in 866-55-PRESS. Our executive producer is Peter Ogburn.
Hi, Betsy.
Jamie Benson. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
So excited to be here. Jamie Benson's running the board. Hello, Jamie.
Hey.
Ray Rogers will be taking your phone calls, so that's who you get to talk to when you call in with all your feelings and takes. And Cyprian Bolding is the video operator. So we have a very exciting hour of radio coming up for everybody. We're going to be talking about the establishment versus Ted Cruz. We're going to be talking about William F. Buckley's rag trying to take down Donald Trump. We're going to be talking about Ted Cruz's preternatural ability to drive Republicans into the arms of Bernie Sanders. All things that are delightful and interesting. But first, we have Full Court Press.
Let's do it.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Okay, so we talk a lot about sort of a la carte cable, right? Because right now we don't really have that option. But a new study by the research and analysis group BTIG took a look at what people would ditch if they could. And it turns out that 56% of cable users would drop ESPN if it meant that they could save $8 a month on cable.
No.
I feel like the remaining 44% would pay all of their life savings so that they could keep ESPN.
I mean, I it's a real question for me, right? $8 a month versus ESPN. I think I'd pay $8 a month for ESPN.
I'd agree.
I mean, I don't even watch TV. I haven't watched TV in a really long time. So I'm one of those super annoying
You're
people.
one of those people?
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
I am in, hashtag we are the 56%. But I don't want to begrudge people their choices.
Fair enough. All right, so a new study from the Journal of Health Economics took a look, because now it's so prevalent and so common and so acceptable for people to smoke marijuana. They took a look at when people typically stop smoking pot. Any guesses at what age people stop smoking pot?
Peter, would you like to share?
27?
I just stopped smoking pot. like a month ago.
My guess is 32.
32?
Yeah. I think I'm going to say yeah.
The age,
31.
The age in which men and women stop smoking marijuana is 21.
No.
Seriously?
Because they say that they can drink legally, and so that replaces what they get from marijuana. Now, I'm not.
Who are these people who smoke pot and then start drinking and feel the same way? Like, what kind of weed are you smoking?
Right. Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
I don't understand.
It's like throwing down the anchor. Like,
No, exactly.
It's just going to weigh you down.
I mean, if you're going to do it. But they say that, like, a lot of people just, like, 21, you can drink, you're fully formed adult at that point, and they think it's time to leave that behind.
Bunch of nerds.
Nerd dorks.
Okay, but is this in places where pot's legal? Like, is this in Colorado,
this is just
Washington?
in
This
general,
is everywhere.
right? Because
Okay.
yes, it's becoming legal in a lot of places, but it's still something that people use quite frequently in places where it is illegal. So they're just, yeah.
I don't know anything about
so
that.
I've heard. Yeah, so yeah, that's what it is. And this is groundbreaking. If you like sriracha, you like sriracha?
I'm fine with it.
There are people who are like obsessive over sriracha, and like
No, I think
frankly,
that's weird.
Give it a rest,
Yeah.
okay?
I don't like
Sriracha's
sriracha
good.
TV or anything.
I'm not going to wear a sriracha
Yeah.
T-shirt or anything like that. But this is a game changer because Sriracha now announced that they are going to be available in packet size, little packets, like little ketchup packets. Previously, you could only buy them in the bottles, but you could buy them now. A pack of 50 packets will cost you $14.99 from their website. You can get 200 packets for $34.99. So if you like your sriracha, but you don't like carrying a giant orange bottle with a rooster on the front, you can just carry one of these little packets.
Or you can choose between a month of ESPN or 75 sriracha packets.
That's
Is
it.
that right?
Yeah. I mean, these are your choices you have to make as a grown-up.
A tough dilemma. Once you stop smoking weed and you have to face the
That's
cold
right.
hard reality.
That's right. Yeah.
Of spending your money
It's a lot easier to make the
responsibly.
decision to not buy 200 sriracha packets once you've stopped smoking pot.
I think that's probably true.
Right?
I think that's probably
I might
true.
have done this when I was smoking pot. I won't do it.
Although at Starbucks, if you get a sandwich, you can get a little sriracha-esque packet. So
Really?
heads up. Yeah, you can ask for them.
Shout out Starbucks.
There you go.
Starbs.
I know.
Making it happen.
That's so fun. Cool. So what we are going to be talking about that I'm so excited to talk about is a really important sort of emerging part of the Republican primary. And that is this really messy, ugly, weird tension, sort of like an anti-love triangle between Ted Cruz, Donald Trump, and the Republican Party establishment. And I think what's really standout about this is the extent to which Donald Trump has somehow found favor with establishment Republicans, even despite his history of saying things that are baffling and perplexing and might maybe make one or two of you every once in a while potentially scratch your heads. Jamie, do we have some relevant audio on that?
I think we do. I mean, just from the Liberty speech
Yeah.
right, the other night, and Stephen Colbert made light of it last night on The Late Show.
I wrote The Art of the Deal. I wrote many bestsellers like The Art of the Deal. Everybody read The Art. Who has read The Art of the Deal in this room? Everybody. I always say,
Naturally,
a
everybody,
deep
of course.
second to the Bible. The Bible is the best. The Bible. The Bible blows it away.
Yeah, the Bible blows it away. The Bible's good. It goes Bible, Art of the Deal, and then like 50 Shades of Grey. They're all good. All good books.
Just great. So I went to that speech in Liberty, which,
nice.
It's about 3.5 hours from D.C. And I think what stood out to me about the way that Trump's appearance there got covered is all the coverage was basically making fun of him, right? Trump's ridiculous. He called it 2 Corinthians. That's so stupid. Ha ha. Which obviously fair game, go for it. But while I was there, I talked to a whole bunch of students, and not a single one of them really had anything negative to say about the speech. When I was talking to them afterwards, nobody brought up the 2 Corinthians thing. Nobody brought up the odd Art of the Deal comment. And in fact, basically all the students that I talked to said that having listened to Donald Trump, they either felt the same about him or they liked him more. But another thing that's interesting that really stood out to me was that so Liberty University, for people who don't know, very conservative Christian school in Central Virginia. It was started by Jerry Falwell, who of course also started the Moral Majority. They had some dramatic and extremely unpleasant financial problems several years back. The school almost went bankrupt. Then Jerry Falwell died, and the school was able to actually use his life insurance money to stay in the black. So Jerry Falwell literally like died to save his school.
Not unlike Jesus.
Not unlike Jesus, exactly. That's where I was going with that.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. No. So it's kind of like something from a Coen Brothers movie, you know. But these students, when I was talking to them, a lot of them would say, I really like Donald Trump, but I also really like Ted Cruz, and I'm not sure which one is my favorite. Like, this is the demographic of these kids. And what's really fun and interesting, although also maybe a little bit perplexing about this, is that the Republican Party establishment is kind of facing the same dilemma, right? We hear increasing arguments that the Republican presidential primary is coming down to Ted Cruz versus Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And now we have party leaders saying, crap. Oh, what words am I allowed to use there? Bummer, rats.
Yeah, dang it.
And dadgummit. And all of a sudden, a lot of them are coming around to Trump. So I think perhaps a really great example of this is Lindsey Graham frantically trying to encourage people to support anybody else and saying that he recently endorsed Jeb Bush, of course, and frantically trying to encourage people, please not either of these guys in a manner of desperation that only Lindsey Graham can embody.
It's like being shot or poisoned. What does it really matter?
It's like being shot or poisoned. What does it matter? Which I would rather not be shot or poisoned. It's a tough
pass
dilemma
on both of those.
Yeah.
But, there's an interesting thing sort of brewing, I think, with the Trump and the Cruz situation, because you've got a lot of people who can't bear the thought of Donald Trump being the nominee. And then we're also seeing, as you just mentioned, more and more people coming out and being just completely turned off the thought of Ted Cruz being the nominee. See, Bob Dole came out and said it would be cataclysmic if he was the nominee. The governor of Iowa went in hard on Cruz and said he cannot be the nominee. So you've got the two frontrunners by a significant margin, by the way, right? In most polls, anyway. And they've got so many haters that, I don't know how they're going to maneuver their way into.
My favorite explanation of this is that, and also Trent Lott, right? Didn't Trent Lott say that he'd rather have Trump than Cruz? Like Trent Lott of all people. So my favorite theory of this is that it's a conspiracy theory from the Jeb Bush people, that the Jeb Bush people are getting all the Bush supporters, including, Trent Lott, Bob Dole, to say, well, we definitely can't have Ted Cruz, so it's Donald Trump or somebody else.
Who could it be? Someone without high-heeled Italian boots.
What white knight could come and save us? I don't know. But I think it's a pretty good conspiracy theory. But on the other hand, I don't know that you necessarily need a theory to explain this. And I was thinking about this a lot this morning as I was awake at the bright and cheery hour of 4:30, which is so fun. You have so many great thoughts then. I really recommend it. And I think what we're seeing right now is just what happens when a whole bunch of people really, really hate you. Obviously, everybody who is an elected official in D.C. has a large number of people who really, really hate them, often for valid, credible, totally legitimate reasons. That's completely fine. But when everybody hates you, that's not good. Maybe eventually having a massive number of people, want to sort of remove your internal organs, maybe that's a problem. And I think part of the reason that the Republican Party establishment is so virulently, diametrically opposed to Ted Cruz, and that they're even willing to say, well, let's get the brilliant author of The Art of the Deal before we have to deal with this Harvard law educated guy. Please, Donald Trump, save us. I think part of the reason they're saying this is because it's so personal. Yeah. Going back to the 2013 government shutdown, when Ted Cruz basically said he was going to nothing good will happen from this. We're logging everything up. Nobody gets to have any fun. But I think also an important part of why the establishment hates Cruz so much is that he has basically made the cornerstone of his campaign personally maligning their character. Saying, every campaign stop, he talks about the Washington cartel and Republican Party leadership in bed with big business and the amnesty lobby, and they're trying to destroy America, and their motives are bad. And it's almost like when you malign somebody's character, they don't respond well. I don't
Weird
know.
how that happens.
Who would have thought that? But yeah, I mean, that's what's happening. And Richard Burr, he's a senator from North Carolina, who is, not a particularly centrist guy, although he's not some crazy winger. The AP reported yesterday that he said at a fundraiser, seriously, not joking, not being ironic, that he would rather have Bernie Sanders be president than Ted Cruz.
Whoa.
Yeah. Right.
That's a game changer.
It's pretty interesting. So speaking of the hatred that DC has faced, we would love to get some calls if anybody, if you have thoughts and feelings. Of course, DC is about to face a snowstorm of Old Testament proportions.
I'm telling you.
If you happen to hate DC, we would love to hear what you think God is punishing DC for.
Something, right? I mean, this isn't just happenstance that we're getting this story.
And then also, if we can sort of play an imaginary game, you imagine that you are Mitch McConnell. Who do you hate more, Ted Cruz or Donald Trump?
I like that.
Who gives you more night sweats? Anyway, we're excited about it. That's what we got.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack.
Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Thank you. And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey guys, it's Betsy Woodruff. I'm a politics reporter with the Daily Beast in for Bill Press on this chilly Friday morning. We are talking about what, if anything, could possibly stop Donald Trump. Give us a call if you have any good theories. 866-555-PRESS. That's 866-557-7377. Thus far, none of the Stop Trump strategies have been particularly effective.
I'm stunned.
But I know,
frankly,
it's just shocking.
Stunned that Lindsey Graham...
the coveted Lindsey Graham endorsement didn't stem the tide. What is
it.
going on? It's so
Man.
confusing. But this morning, we actually have a pretty big news story. National Review magazine, which was founded in 1955 by William F. Buckley Jr., sort of the intellectual basis of the modern conservative movement, arguably one of the most influential magazines on American politics, has a big story, big cover story, where they have a symposium of more than a dozen prominent conservative writers, not rhinos, real conservatives. We're talking Eric Erickson, Glenn Beck, Dana Lash, Katie Pavlich. I mean, people who are very conservative, Republican, talk news friendly, saying that Donald Trump must be stopped, that he's not one of us, that he's got to go. Donald Trump, as you can imagine, has responded with deference, understanding, and open-mindedness to their criticisms.
People don't even think about the National Review, so I guess they want to get a little publicity, but no, that's a dying paper.
Could not be a more Trump answer. I mean, that is the perfect Trump answer.
Made some interesting points there. So my first job out of college was a fellowship with National Review. And the one time in my entire career I have interviewed Donald Trump was when I was there. This is back in 2013 when, for reporters, talking to Donald Trump was very much frowned upon. When I was kind of embarrassed about the piece at the time, I was like, oh my God, I'm part of the problem. Guys, why are you making me do this? But we got the interview set up. I nabbed my exclusive. And at the time, Donald Trump told me, here's literally what he told me on the record. He said, National Review is so hard on me, and I hate that, and I don't like it. But hopefully you'll be nice to me. I don't get why National Review doesn't like me. That's what he said. So obviously some people are thinking about National Review.
Yeah, right?
Clearly it is on the radar of some people somewhere.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the people who don't follow Republican pundits and all that. These are all the superstars of the Republican pundit world, right? Mm-hmm. That have now come out and said, we have got to stop Donald Trump.
Right. Saying, seriously, guys, this is not okay anymore.
Wake
not
up
funny
call.
anymore.
Wake
Come
up
on.
call time.
Wake up, America.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's the question. Will it work? Will this stop Donald Trump?
My guess is no.
I don't believe so.
I don't think Donald Trump has found success because of things that are written in paragraph form. The greatness of the art of the deal accepted. And I don't think that this particular symposium in and of itself is going to be enough to sort of staunch the bleeding. Yeah. That said, there hasn't really been a concerted, organized effort to criticize Trump from the right thus far. A lot of the criticism we've seen from Trump that has been loudest and that's gotten the most coverage and maybe carried the most weight has been criticism kind of from the Republican center, from the Republican establishment, from the middle. We've seen Jeb Bush say, don't vote for Trump because he won't win. We've seen John Kasich say Trump's rhetoric is unacceptable because the Republican Party base obviously gets very upset about poor rhetoric. And I don't know. I mean, God bless him, right? Obviously, it's worth an effort, and maybe this will have some sort of effect. But I don't know. Kind of remains to be seen. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Call us on this, by the way, 866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377.
We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Today, in this country, we are having a conversation about police violence, the killing of black men, and what all that means. It is sad that this is happening and that every day there's a new incident to cause us to keep thinking about it and talking about it. But it is extraordinary that the American people are having to deal with this every day, whether you're watching CNN or MSNBC, Fox, or ABC News. All the news channels are talking about police violence and what does that mean against black people. Many people probably look at that, certainly have looked at it in the past, and they have said that these poor black men are doing bad things, and that's why they are ending up in confrontations with police without any understanding of their lives of these poor black young men. Part of what has been going on for decades is that poor black people live in communities that suffer from hyper surveillance of the police. The police are more likely to be in their communities. The police are more likely to arrest them. The police are more likely to stop them even if they're not doing anything. And that is what is so hard for the American people to believe, that you would get stopped and searched and arrested by the police and not doing anything. But this is starting to come out as people are telling the stories over and over again. But this has been the condition, this hyper surveillance by police, making it more likely for people to get a record, to be known by the police, and then once they get in the system, it is almost impossible to get out because of the whole system of being on parole and missing an appointment or fraternizing with a person who has a criminal record, getting you right back in the jail, and then going back again and again and again. This is coming to be seen by the American people in a way that it has never been seen before. But why are people in these communities in the first place? That's getting peeled away. People are there because of housing discrimination. They are there because this is the only place where affordable housing can be found. They are there because that's where their families live, and people are drawn to being in communities where they are comfortable. The combination keeps people in these low-income communities where they are an easy target for hyper-surveillance and then everything that comes from it. And so as we think about these issues, we have to understand that while you as an individual in this society, as a white individual, you may not carry personal racism, but that does not keep the system from operating in a racist way.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey guys, it's Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast in on this Friday morning for Bill Press. It is 6:33. We've been talking about Donald Trump and what it could possibly take to stop the Republican presidential frontrunner. And now I think it would be kind of fun to look at a new and super bizarre CNN poll of Iowa, that shows Trump beating Ted Cruz by 11 points in Iowa, 37-26. Of course, kind of the fun situation here is that Republicans' first chance to stop Donald Cruz, this first Republican nominating contest, could also maybe be their last chance. Because if Trump wins Iowa, he's almost certainly going to win New Hampshire. His polls right now indicate he's going to walk away with South Carolina. Seems like there's a good likelihood every single person in Alabama in the SEC primary will for Donald Trump. no offense to those folks. Yeah, roll tide, exactly. So I don't know.
I think
it's a big deal.
I think if Donald Trump, and who knows, right? Like, this is such a wacky election. But if Donald Trump wins Iowa, it's over.
It's over.
It's like Donald Trump will be the nominee if he wins Iowa. Now, there's a long way to go to get there because, as Donald Trump indicated the other night when he was speaking in Iowa, he's not exactly sure how the whole Iowa thing works when he talked about need to make sure that everyone shows up to the polls in Iowa. Not exactly how it works out there, dude. But I mean, Iowa, we know New Hampshire, or we feel pretty strongly that he's going to win New Hampshire. Right. We feel pretty strongly he's going to win South Carolina. That's it. It's just walk away Trump.
It's very easy for him. If anybody else was polling where he's polling, we'd be like, oh yeah, cool, Jeb's going to be the nominee. Right. Anyway, we have a caller, George from Katy, Texas. George, how's it going?
It's going. How are y'all doing?
Pretty good.
What's up, George?
Well, I just had a comment about Donald Trump. He needs to grow. Not Donald Trump, but the Republican Party. That they need to grow a pair. They need to start vetting, who they let as front runners. I don't know if it's, maybe I'm naive to how the whole system works, but Donald Trump is an entertainer. He's the ringmaster. The rest are in the clown car.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think you're right, and I think the Republican Party establishment probably wishes they could be in charge of who is going to be the nominee, right? Because if they were able to do that, my guess is that they would, and the problem is that it's out of their control.
So here's part of the problem, George, is Donald Trump has flirted with this idea of running for president and courted the Republicans for quite some time, right? Like, we remember when Mitt Romney had to go out and sort of put on this whole big show because he was getting Donald Trump's endorsement. And early on, when he started flirting with the idea of running for president, Republicans embraced that idea. And I'm not totally sure why, right? I'm talking about like the RNC, right? Like they didn't say like, you know what, we don't have any room for you in this party. It was like, hey, sure, you
they were like, you're too weird to be a Republican.
Right.
You don't fit our brand.
Right. Like, nobody pushed back at all, right? They just sort of let it happen. And so now, I don't know why they're surprised that they're in this position. And so it's a really tough tightrope of, like, is Reince Priebus really going to come out and say, we can't have Donald Trump be the nominee of this party?
Because you're not allowed in because you don't like immigrants enough.
Right,
Sorry.
Right. Like, what are they going to do? So, like, in a lot of ways, this is just the chickens coming home to roost.
And the other thing is they literally don't have the ability to do that.
Right, sure.
Reince could say Donald Trump is bad and we don't like him, so he needs to leave, and it wouldn't matter because he's on the ballot and primary voters are going to vote for him. Anyway, that'd be the political equivalent of Reince, decapitating himself. And I think something that hasn't really been touched on, but that's a really big deal here, is the extent to which not only the Republican Party establishment has lost its clout and influence over Republican base voters, but also the evangelical Christian establishment has lost clout and influence over those evangelical voters. In Iowa, of course, evangelical Christians have just massive political influence. We know that most evangelical Christian leaders are not Donald Trump fans. So World Magazine, weekly or monthly glossy publication, not super well read, but very influential in these evangelical Christian homeschooling conservative circles. World Magazine does a survey once a month of about 100 evangelical leaders, people with putative influence, people who theoretically should be able to direct where these voters are going. And every single month for the last 7 months, who's won that survey? Marco Rubio. It does not matter at all.
Nothing matters.
Nothing matters. Nothing means anything because winning the World Magazine Evangelical Leader Survey does not actually get you to be the Republican nominee, alas. All right. Anyway, so it's just a fun tension. Very interesting to see how that'll play out. We have another caller, Jack in Minnesota. How's it going? Good morning.
Good morning.
What's up, Jack?
Hi.
What's your take, man?
Well, my take is that I believe that the Democratic Party has to get together and back up Hillary Clinton for president. I'm hesitant to say that. I know you have a lot of Bernie fans out there, and I'm a Bernie fan as well. But I believe that the result of Bernie Sanders running against Donald Trump would give you the result that we had a long time ago where Walter Mondale from Minnesota was beat by Ronald Reagan, and Reagan had a 49 state landslide. I believe there would be a landslide against Bernie Sanders. He will be painted as not only a socialist, but even a communist, and I think that Trump would, and the Republicans would tear him apart. I'm sorry to say that. My heart is with Bernie, but I think we have to use our heads here and back up Hillary, because I believe Hillary can beat Donald Trump.
First of all, by the way, we have to recognize that if it was Donald Trump versus Bernie Sanders, that would officially be the best election
Best election ever. As a reporter, I really hope that happens.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Totally. It's hard to imagine Bernie Sanders being painted as a socialist, given that he literally has painted himself as a socialist.
Right.
But yeah, no, totally. So your argument would be that the only person who can stop Trump now is Hillary, and nothing else matters. It's all on her shoulders.
I believe it. I mean, my heart is with Bernie, but my head is with Hillary, and I think we have to use our heads here.
Don't you feel
we don't want a president who makes fun of the handicapped people, of the disabled, and that's what we would have.
You sound bummed out about this.
You don't.
Hillary is the lifesaver, Jack. You sound kind of sad. Am I hearing you right?
I'm not sad. I'm just realistic about it, and I'm speaking from what I honestly believe is the case.
I'm not sad. I'm just realistic. I think that speaks for a lot of us going into this. Thanks a bunch, Jack. Nice chatting. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think anyone but Hillary can stop Trump?
I think that there's a case that could be made that either Hillary or Bernie could beat Donald Trump. But at the same time, I know a lot of our listeners look at Donald Trump as a punchline, right? But I really do think that Trump would have a shot at winning if he was the nominee. I think he's got a better shot than like Ted Cruz.
Totally, 100%. Yeah. We got another caller, Joey from Chicago. Good morning, Joey. What is your take?
Bernie Sanders is the only one who could beat Donald Trump and any Republican.
Okay.
And all the polls, every poll right now, head to head, Bernie Sanders beats every Republican, including Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton has a problem beating any of them. And that's in all national polls today. That guy's crazy, whoever just called. He doesn't know nothing.
Tell us how you really feel.
He doesn't know nothing.
Fair enough, Joey. Well said, and we appreciate that.
Thank you, Joey.
Thanks a bunch. We like that Chicago candor. That's
oh,
good.
Betsy, you don't know the half about Joey.
Joey is our frequent caller. He is a bit of a curmudgeon.
Awesome.
We love to hear from Joey.
That's really good. Well, I'm
shout out
delighted.
Joey.
Shout out to Joey. Thanks for calling. I don't know. We'll see how that all works out. But it's certainly going to be fun to watch. I think you're totally right that Trump is probably the most competitive Republican, which says something about electoral politics in America right now. So anyway, that was a delightful conversation, and we'll be right back.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Good morning, friends. Welcome back to the Bill Press Show. This is Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast. I am in for Bill Press on this lovely Friday. And we have Angela Fritz with us. She's the deputy weather editor for the Washington Post at the Capital Weather Gang. You can follow her on Twitter at Angela Fritz, Fritz. And of course, you can read her reporting that actually has a lot of practical value at WashingtonPost.com. Good morning, Angela. How are you?
Good.
Thanks
Angela,
for
I'm
being with us.
freaking out. Should I be freaking out?
Hopefully you've prepared enough that you're not freaking out at this point. That's what I'm hoping.
Is it too late to have prepared properly? Like, what should people in D.C. do in the next 3 hours to make sure that they don't, lose their extremities?
I think there's still a little bit of time, but making sure that you have everything you need, some food, making sure that you have enough water. Like, what if the power goes out and your water pump is electric, and so you don't have water? Like that would be important.
Nice?
That's a fun
yeah,
thought. That's
yeah.
a fun thing to think about. Okay. So you're not going to have any water.
So that kind of thing. Batteries for flashlights, making sure you have candles, things like that. That kind of stuff. That can be done over the next 6 hours or so. Okay. But really, we want to have everyone get off the roads by the early afternoon because the snow is going to start coming in soon after that.
So, Angela, can you walk us through the next 24 hours? What is going to happen weather-wise in Washington, D.C. and on the eastern seaboard? What is unfolding before us?
Sure. So actually in the southeast, things got started last night. Freezing rain, sleet. It's kind of ugly down there. Snow is going to start here in the D.C. region, probably anywhere between, I'm guessing probably around 3 o'clock, flurries will start flying. Mm-hmm. And then by the afternoon or the late afternoon, things are really going to start to deteriorate. And then overnight Friday and into Saturday morning, then that's when things will really start to pick up. Winds are going to start to gust. And we could see some of those blizzard conditions we're talking about. We are under a blizzard warning, which means we could see whiteout conditions and visibilities could drop to zero, which means travel, pretty, right?
So Hoth
travel,
or worse than Hoth?
I'd say right around Hoth.
Okay.
Hoth levels.
Okay.
Hoth levels. That's the official term.
Good to know.
Yes. So don't think that you're just going to be able to hop in your car and get what you need, or visit a friend, or even go for a walk. Really, people keep asking me, "Can I go for a walk on Saturday?" And I'm like, "Well, stay close to home and take a buddy. Buddy system."
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like a fun way to go for walks. Can you to put this in context, can you compare what we're expecting over the next 3 days to the Snowmageddon a couple years back? Are we expecting this to be even more Old Testament style, or perhaps a little bit less bad?
I would say similar, if not more.
Wow.
And so our forecast as of yesterday, and looking at the models, we may scoot totals up a little bit, was 18 to 24 inches. And in DC, in DC during Snowmageddon we got 18 inches. And so that's kind of on the low end of our forecast for this storm.
Wow.
And so the most snow that DC has ever gotten, on record that we know of is 28 inches.
So we can break the record. Maybe.
So there is,
USA.
That's kind of within range here. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So that's something to think about. Yeah, this is a big one. This is definitely a big one.
So going up north from D.C., what should folks in Baltimore, New York, Boston be expecting? Will they also be smited?
New York, yeah. So Baltimore, similar to us, winds also bad. Coastal areas, Delaware, New Jersey, you really need to keep in mind that storm surge is going to be significant. I know we talk about storm surge and hurricanes, but onshore winds are going to be really strong, and we're thinking 5-foot storm surge, and the duration of this storm is so long that we have to go through 3 high tide cycles before it's over. So it's just going to be like over and over and over again that these areas are going to be flooding. So that's not going to be good. And then further up the eastern seaboard, we also have the potential for blizzard and whiteout conditions. Snow won't be quite as heavy up there, but the winds will be just as bad. And so you don't have to have as much snow to get whiteout conditions. So Philadelphia and New York could also have like really reduced visibilities, even though they're only going to see maybe a foot of snow.
Wow.
Let me ask this.
Interesting.
Let me ask you this, because the federal government is already closing at noon today in Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
Schools are already closed for today in a lot of areas. So I just want to play devil's avocado here. Is there a chance that the storm misses us?
No.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what happens when you advocate for the devil, okay?
Yeah, I know.
You're wrong on the radio. Get it together, Peter.
We've been talking about that, and if it did, like, you know, meteorologists everywhere would be out of a job. Like, no one would trust us anymore. Like, it would be over, right? So, but it's just not going to happen because it's been so incredible how well the forecasts have been doing since Sunday. It never happens like this. That we've been so high confidence since Sunday, but we are locked in, man. We are so locked into this.
I'm ready for it.
Cool.
I am so ready. Like, all the devices in the house are charged. All the videos are downloaded onto the portable devices. The candles and the batteries are in one location. We can find it in case the power goes out.
You're ready to Netflix and literally chill.
Literally Netflix and chill. Yeah. The sleds are out. Man, I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
Excellent.
I mean, I'm horrified. Frankly, I need someone to hold me, but I'm ready.
Speaking of meteorologists, when I was little, I was from Columbia, Missouri, and we had a meteorologist named Randy Wright, and we called him Randy Wrong because he thought he was wrong all the time. And one time there was a tornado warning when I was little, and Randy Wright came on the TV and said, "Guys, good news, the tornado's going to pass us over." And I started weeping because I thought, it's Randy Wrong. We're going to get killed by a tornado. No. So thank you for caring about your meteorological credibility, Angela. The children of D.C. are not
Thanks,
right.
Angela.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks a bunch, guys. We'll be right back. This is the Bill Press Show.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
So you're drowning in student debt, and it looks like there's no way out. Have you considered bankruptcy? Of course not. It's a dirty word, and everything you've heard says students can't file anyway. It didn't start that way. Bankruptcy laws were enacted in the 19th century to give people a fresh start. But not all debt is created equal. Take this, for example. We have you, your buddy Carlos, and your grandma Lucy. Carlos got laid off. His credit card debt was too much to handle, so he filed for bankruptcy. Will totally screw his credit, but at least he can start fresh, and after 10 years, his credit report should be fine. Grandma Lucy's home lost half its value. Now her mortgage isn't worth paying back. She says F it and decides to file for bankruptcy too. Then there's you. You didn't land that dream job, you're struggling to make ends meet, but the interest just keeps piling up. With a broken heart, you've written off the possibility of buying a home, having kids, and getting married because, hello, who wants to deal with your crazy baggage? But in reality, you want those things, and your education was supposed to get you there. Now you need a fresh start, just what bankruptcy was intended for. You try to file, like Carlos and Grandma Lucy, and that's when you realize it's not as easy for you as it was for them. In the 70s, Congress worried that students were using bankruptcy to abuse loan programs. That wasn't quite true. Still, over the years, Congress gradually stripped student debtors of their options. The Bankruptcy Reform Act of 1978 was even called discriminatory toward students by the chairman of the subcommittee. Student debt was singled out and lumped with criminal debts. Today, if student debtors try filing for bankruptcy anyway, they'll need to prove their debt imposes an undue hardship. But who's to say what qualifies as an undue hardship? Even some judges have said they don't get it. This lack of clarity in the law could work in your favor. A Harvard researcher discovered in 2012 that few students actually try to discharge their loans through bankruptcy. Of the students who filed for bankruptcy to settle other debts, only 0.1% try the same tactic on their school debt. The craziest part? Just under half of them got their debts fully or partially discharged. In other words, you can file for bankruptcy on your student loans. Depending on your situation, it might just be a matter of trying. At least there's that.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi guys, this is Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast in for Bill Press on this Friday morning. We have some important Old Testament plague news. We've been talking about this horrible whiteout about to face the eastern seaboard. So if you were only partially convinced it's the end times, you can now be completely convinced thanks to some interesting insight on a new terrifying disease called Zika. Peter, can you tell us about this horrifying plague?
So this is happening specifically in Brazil, right? Babies are being born with horrible birth defects, and they're classifying this as Zika. So it's a brain condition. It can be deadly and cause intellectual disability and developmental delays. And in fact, Colombia's health minister has gone so far to advise women to delay their pregnancy. But this is a real problem.
It's genuinely terrifying.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, and basically they're saying that if you're a woman and you're pregnant, you shouldn't go to the Caribbean.
Right.
And if you're already pregnant in the Caribbean, stay away from mosquitoes, which is kind of hard to do.
Hard to do, yeah. I mean, I don't know how you do that.
It's really a creepy, chilling stuff.
It's these children are being born with
like
abnormally small heads,
yeah.
really small heads, and it's going to create a lifetime of pain.
Heartbreaking.
It's awful,
yeah,
awful. Some of the pictures are terrifying.
So if you had good feelings about mosquitoes and you were sort of chill or neutral about them, now hopefully this will change your mind on those horrifying little flying vampire bugs. Anyways, this is the Bill Press Show. I'm Betsy Woodruff. The next hour is going to be delightful, so keep your radios turned on. And I'll be talking more in a little bit.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, guys, I want to take the last part of the day to change our focus and talk a little bit about water. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's huge oceans. You get thirsty, you just go and you get some water, right? We rely on rain for our water. We even rely on snow. But what if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. I want you to tell your parents, your friends, your neighbors, how important it is to save water. It's up to you guys to save the planet. All right? What if it doesn't rain? What if it doesn't snow? We have to get the word out about water conservation. It's up to you guys to save the planet.
Hi, I'm Mark LaFleur, and I produced the short film you just watched called Aquaforce. California is experiencing one of the worst droughts it's ever had, and now, more than ever, it's important for everyone to do their part to help conserve water. The reason I made this film is because I wanted to make something fun and informative that would get people talking about the California drought. Obviously, this is an important issue because we have a limited amount of clean drinking water. I think it was very important to let people know, especially young people, that this is an important resource, maybe our most important resource, and it's something that we can't take for granted and we certainly can't waste. I really wanted this to be something that children would respond to. The kind of thing that any kid anywhere in the world, no matter what language they speak, could understand the story and be entertained by it and leave it knowing that this is something important, that if they didn't already know about this, that it's now going to be a part of the way that they think about water, the way that they live life, and that it's something that they'll share with their friends. The fact that they watch this video once or twice and they immediately understand that water is important, that's it. That was the whole point of this thing, to get it into the conversation, to make it something that kids are thinking about, talking about, that they're aware of, and that they know is important. This project was self-funded, so we relied on the support of our community to make it happen. It was pretty amazing to just have our neighbors, our friends, and our coworkers come together and volunteer their time and their homes and their kids to make this thing happen. Thanks for checking out the video. Keep the Aquaforce going, and thanks for watching Free Speech TV.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hi guys, good morning. My name is Betsy Woodruff. I'm a politics reporter with the Daily Beast in guest hosting for Bill Press on this beautiful Friday morning. It is 6 minutes after the hour.
Beautiful for now.
Beautiful for now, right. Beautiful until it gets whited out and we can't see anything. BillPressShow.com. You can watch us live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV, spelled Tawkr. Free Speech is also seen on DirecTV and Dish. Talker's on YouTube. youtube.com/TawkrTV. Internet is such a magical thing. On Twitter, we're at BP Show. You can give us a call, share your feelings, thoughts, Gnostic insights at 866-55-PRESS. That's 866-557-7377. In this morning with executive producer Peter Ogburn. Good morning, Peter.
Hi, Betsy.
So nice to see you.
You're doing a wonderful job. We should point out this is your first time hosting the show.
I know. It's exciting.
We were hesitant to have anyone from the Daily Beast back after Tim and Swen hosted. We're still recovering from that.
Man,
but you're doing a fantastic job,
Well,
thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, I feel like this is sort of like giving the keys to your Maserati to the eager 15-year-old who just got her learner's permit. It's like, at least it's going to be interesting.
It'll be fun.
Right.
It'll be fun. We all might hurt ourselves very badly by the end of the show, but we're having a hell of a time.
Yeehaw. We also have Jamie Benson running the board.
Good
Hi,
morning,
Jamie.
Betsy.
Good morning.
This is going great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I feel exactly the same way. And we have Ray Rogers screening calls and Cyprian Boulding running all the fun video stuff. So hello to you people out there in video land. and we're going to be talking a lot about foreign policy, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders has had a delightful week so far. Lots of good or dramatic and interesting news for him. People are finally paying attention to the Democratic primary, which is a crazy thought that there would actually be a contest on the left in this election. But yeah, Bernie's had a fun week, and Jimmy Fallon had a little bit of fun ribbing him last night.
Check this out. A new People magazine profile on Bernie Sanders, it said that he still does his own grocery shopping. Grocery shopping usually takes Bernie a while because he always stops for an hour to yell at the 1% milk. He's like,
what about the other 99%? No one talks about that milk.
Peter, I gotta say, man, your Bernie impression is miles ahead of Jimmy's.
Oh, that's so sweet of you to say, Jamie.
Well, Jimmy does a great Trump, but that was a bad Bernie.
It kind of sounded like he had a head cold.
It was nasally.
Right, a little nasally.
Look, when I go to the grocery store, when we hear, I hear the snow is coming, I stock up on all of the essentials. I get a couple of wheat thins. I get
extra pair of underpants.
I get my long underwear.
Stop.
I get my long underwear because it's going to be cold out.
Hey, Bernie, do you think I'm doing a good job guest hosting the Bill Press
First
show?
of all, Betsy, let me just say, you're doing a great job. I love Bill Press. He does a great job, too. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
Oh, too kind. We'll be talking more about St. Bernard in a little bit. But first, we've got Full Court Press.
This is the Full Court
Yes,
Press.
indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Okay, so Huntington Beach, California, there's a group. They call themselves the Naturists. They are a group of nudists. And for years, they've been renting out the city's Huntington Beach City gym and pool for gatherings, right? And so it's this gathering place. They have a big thing, and they do their nudist thing as they rent this out. But the Orange County has gotten upset with them. They're shutting it down. They're saying you can no longer use this as long as you're nude, because they say that what's happening is they're swimming in the pool naked, and they're using the gym equipment with no clothes on.
God.
Nope.
Did they just recently start doing that, or like
they've been doing this for years?
So the
by
people
the
of Huntington for years have been using gym equipment that their co-Huntingtonites nakedly used
by nudists. Yes.
I assume all these people are Bernie Sanders supporters.
Probably, I would not be surprised. But
has he campaigned there yet?
But here's the other thing. So, like, when you rent it out, the city employees still have to, like, be there to operate it and clean and all that stuff. And so, like, city employees were there with a bunch of nudists, and it was just too much, too distracting.
I can't believe there's something in their contracts about that.
They're saying, no more.
What is the point of AFSCME if you have to, like, watch a bunch of elderly and nude people use equipment and then clean it up?
You bring up a good point. People who are nudists are rarely ever the people you would like to see be nudists.
Yeah, I
right.
Know.
Like it's never
right.
Right. It's not hot people that are nudists.
It's like elderly people who are like, I read a bunch of Benjamin Franklin about how you need to air out your skin.
Who gave up a long time ago. Yeah, they're the ones that need to put some damn clothes on.
Wow.
Yesterday we got a look at the 2016 NBA All-Star starting lineups. Here's the deal: the biggest vote getter of the year was Kobe Bryant, because it's his last year. He's retiring at the end of the year. So here's what we got: the Western Conference starting lineup. The guards will be Steph Curry and Russell Westbrook. In the front court will be Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard starting from the San Antonio Spurs. The Eastern Conference will have Dwayne Wade and Kyle Lowry in the backcourt, and LeBron James, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony in the front court. So there you go. There are your NBA starting lineups. The All-Star Game will be held in Toronto next month, February 14th.
Cool. Sounds like it's really interesting sports news. I love talking about athletics.
I'm here to bring you all the sports you can handle on a Friday. If you're looking for one of the world's most hardened criminals, look no farther than Subway. That is where 28-year-old Piotr Kupchak was found in Wiltshire. He is on the Scotland Yard's most wanted. They've been looking for him for years for injury causing death, manslaughter, and murder. He was part of a gang in Krakow that was very, very bad. And police raided a Subway sandwich shop where they found him working.
Wow.
They
I used to
gave-
work at Subway, but I never met that guy.
Have you ever killed, manslaughter, death, murder, anybody?
Ask me no questions. I'll tell you no lies.
Exactly. So if you're looking for the worst criminal in the world, there you go. See, they had Jared Fogle, who's a terrible criminal,
These
and now this
people.
guy.
Man, I feel
So
like I need to speak up for Subway. Defend their
You're the Subway
brands.
defender.
Yeah, Subway.
Yeah.
The vegetables are fresh. They totally are. I
The
just
vegetables are
slice
fresh.
those.
The
I just slice
employees,
those
well,
damn
they're
things.
murderers and pedophiles.
Well,
but the
you know.
vegetables, damn it.
On the one hand, on the other hand.
There you go. That's all I got.
Cool. Awesome. So, one of the emerging themes in the Bernie versus Hillary contest, rivalry, spat, is
Grudge
whether
match.
grudge match, smackdown, is whether or not either of them will be able to make America great again. No, just kidding. One of the big questions, and a new focus Hillary Clinton has picked up, is whether or not Bernie Sanders has any idea what he's talking about when he talks about foreign policy. Of course, Hillary has to go a little bit on the offense here, but she is. She's really going for it. So we've got a little bit of audio of what this particular attack sounds like.
Now, Senator Sanders doesn't talk very much about foreign policy, but when he does, it raises concerns because sometimes it can sound like he hasn't really thought it through.
Oh, man.
Sick burn.
Sick burn.
Do you think Bernie Sanders has thought it through, and do you think it matters? Give us a call if you're so inclined, 866-55-PRESS. That's 866-557-7377. Anyway, so we at the Daily Beast, we are really interested in following this because Hillary Clinton's criticism of Bernie Sanders is basically a dumbed down, simplified, user-friendly version of an article that Tim Mack wrote a while back laying out Bernie Sanders' ISIS plan. His article was not particularly charitable in how it was written, but this is news, and it's correct. So the headline that Tim put on this piece is, and I quote, "Bernie Sanders' ISIS strategy is a disaster." This is the news side, not the opinion side. But Tim makes a pretty compelling case, and part of what I think is just odd sounding about the way Bernie Sanders talks about going after ISIS is the rhetoric he uses. Given the whole Trump situation, the whole Republican presidential primary situation, it seems like on the left there's a pretty high premium on using rhetoric that is not, xenophobic or Islamophobic or, expressing hostility or acting like there's like the fight with ISIS is a fight with another religion. But in the debates, Bernie Sanders repeatedly says, we don't want U.S. troops going after ISIS, we want Muslim troops going after ISIS, which is kind of weird because not all Middle Eastern countries, not everyone in the Middle East is Muslim. And also there are a lot of Muslims that serve in the U.S. military, including Congressman Keith Ellison's son. So it's sort of an odd tension for him to get there. The rhetoric there is just interesting, something to keep an eye on, see if that becomes a problem for him. Now, the argument that, or what Tim Mack reports in his story about Bernie Sanders' ISIS strategy disaster, Tim talked to a bunch of foreign policy experts to know how this stuff works. And the consensus was that the idea Bernie has laid out for how to take out ISIS literally does not make any sense at all. And that's because Bernie's idea is based on having Saudi Arabia and Iran team up to put boots on the ground in Syria to take out ISIS. I mean, which would be akin to Abraham Lincoln saying, we're going to take out the Confederacy by having the Hatfields and the McCoys go to war in Georgia. It's going to be great. Like there's a lot of cool foreign policy stuff you can do if you can act outside of the laws of physics. But unfortunately, that could potentially be challenging for Bernie Sanders. So anyway, it's going to be interesting to watch. We've got a caller, John from Minneapolis. What do you think? Do you think Saudi Arabia and Iran teaming up makes sense, and do you care?
Saudi Arabia and Iran teaming up, I didn't get that, but I do have an opinion about Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was involved in Libya and made the decision to, bomb Libya, and I don't think that was really very successful. Now we have ISIS-like groups there. And Bernie Sanders has been a congressman for probably over 30 years, and now he's a senator. I think he probably has as much knowledge, if not more, than most congressmen do, and particularly the other side of the aisle. So just those 2 points.
Are you voting for him, John? Have you decided?
I'm not only voting for him, I spend lots of time, about 3 to 4 hours a week, trying to get people to go to the caucuses here in Minnesota, and there have been many people that have been involved in, going down to Iowa and helping down there also. So he has a very big organization, mostly young people. I'm 60. They're like at least half my age.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Bernie Sanders is going to be in Minnesota this week, January 26th.
He really? I didn't know that.
Yes, January 26th at 3 p.m. Future to Believe in rally at the Duluth Entertainment Convention Center Arena. I don't know where that is, but it's in Minnesota.
I think that's probably in Duluth.
Okay, yeah, I would guess. That seems like a safe bet. And then he's got another one. He's got another event, 7 p.m. in St. Paul. So. Yeah. So maybe you could go to that and give us a call back and let us know.
Yeah, let us know how it goes.
Is. Yeah.
Well, I've been to one Bernie Sanders event. It was 5,000 people. This was in May.
Mm-hmm.
And they changed the venue several times, and even despite all of the misorganization and whatnot, and actually there were more people. It was at the Indian Center on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, and it was spilling out into the street. They had loudspeakers out there, and I was just blown away. There were people, all kinds of people.
Was it fun?
Yes.
Cool. Well, thanks for calling. It was nice talking with you, John.
There's an interesting point that we started to get into before we went to John. That was a good call. But, we know that Bernie and Hillary are going to have to sort of take the gloves off a little bit.
Right.
And as much as we like in the media to make it out to be some huge fight, right? And Hillary was like, oh, this attack ad for Bernie. And
the media wouldn't exaggerate this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, they're going to go at each other.
Right.
They have two different policies. So, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world, but, they are going to be competitive about this.
Yeah, totally. We have a call, Rebecca from Boonville, New York. Rebecca, do you have any thoughts on this? You think people are exaggerating the tension here, or what do you make of it?
Well, I don't know. I think in some respects, yes. In some respects, no. If you're talking particularly about foreign policy, I do think there is a big difference.
Yeah.
I think the previous caller talked about Libya, and I really do see Clinton as a war hawk. I'm a Bernie supporter.
Yeah.
Now, if Hillary does get the nomination, I'll support Hillary. But I think it's time for progressives who really are anti-war, who really want to pull America away from the brink of perpetual war. I think you have to cast your vote for Bernie.
So you think Hillary's legacy is a bigger liability than Bernie's inexperiences?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So would you say Hillary's experience making decisions that you would disagree with is a bigger problem than the fact that Bernie doesn't have a lot of experience making these decisions?
Well, how much experience did Hillary Clinton have before she was Secretary of State?
Right, fair enough.
And I will say that Bernie has been in government for a very long time. Look, the whole notion that ISIS is a threat to our national security is so overplayed, and it's a result, I believe, of the desire to keep our military budgets out of control. It's again, I don't mean to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm really not. However, you've got this huge industrial complex that makes billions and billions of dollars, and so it is to their advantage to hype up this hysteria and this fear. And I believe that there's too much of a connection with that corporate state. With the Hillary camp. Again, if she gets the nomination, that's fine, but I'm not ready yet to give up.
Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts, Rebecca. We appreciate it. And this is sort of an interesting theme that we're seeing on both sides, is the fact that having experience is now a liability, both for Republicans and for Democrats. It's like, just because people might have the necessary skills and experience that historically American voters have hoped for, doesn't mean in this election cycle it's actually a problem. It's like the less experience you have, the better. This is Betsy Woodruff, Bill Press Show, and we'll be back in just a little bit.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
have run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am tired.
I am tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey guys, this is Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast, in for Bill, and we have a caller, Beverly from St. David, Illinois. How's it going? What are your thoughts this morning?
Well, good morning, and you're doing a very good job.
Thank you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Aw.
To these two Bernie supporters, hey, we cut the budget on the defense. Hey, they did that after World War I. Guess what happened? World War II. I'm tired of old white men in the White House. I'm voting for Hillary. She's the most qualified candidate of anybody on either side of the aisle. And let's wake up and understand. I like Bernie. He's a nice fella. He's a curmudgeon, whatever. But he will not get his agenda through a Republican Congress. No way, no how.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for calling, Beverly. And I appreciate those thoughts, and thank you for the kind words.
Shout out Beverly.
What do you think? No way, no how?
I mean, I think that there are a lot of good points on both sides. I'm not trying to be that wishy-washy.
That's a brave stance.
I know, but
good points on both
I'm
sides.
not endorsing anybody. I think there are valid points on both sides, and I know that's the worst answer I could possibly give.
Absolutely the worst.
Yes,
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm pretty terrible.
My name is Betsy Woodruff. I'm a reporter with the Daily Beast, in for Bill, and thank you for joining us this morning. We'll be back soon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Keep all the presidential candidates straight with your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey guys, this is Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast in for Bill on this nippy Friday morning. We have a very special guest for the next half hour, Jim Newell, who's a politics writer for Slate. You can follow him on Twitter at Jim_Newell. That's the underscore punctuation mark, not the word underscore. And you can read him online at slate.com, where his Slate pitches become reality. Jim, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, Betsy, how are you? Fancy talking to you here.
I know. It's a guy like you doing in a place like this. So you're in New Hampshire right now, right?
I am. I've been here since last Saturday. I'll be here through Sunday, but I guess with the snowstorm, I may be here until the thaw in April.
Yeah, seriously. And what are you seeing? Can you paint us a word picture of the situation there right now? Is Kasich Mentum, is it real?
Sure. Well, I haven't really been following Kasich that much, which probably because, as soon as the media stops covering something, that person ends up doing really well. So, we'll see. There was a Ted Cruz bus tour here for a few days, Sunday through Thursday. So I followed him around for a little bit. And now both Bernie and Hillary Clinton are in state today doing events, and the events are roughly the same time. So
which one are you going to?
People are going to have to. I'm going to try to go to each. I'm going to try to go to Bernie in midday, and then Hillary later tonight. Bernie is actually speaking at 1:00 today at Concord High School, and the only attendees aside from press who are allowed are the high school students there. So he's going to give like a school lecture, basically, trying to get that senior year vote, I guess.
That's exciting.
Yeah, but then there are a lot of Republican candidates here. I think Cruz has left and Trump has left, but everyone else is going to be here because there's a big event on Saturday, First in the Nation town hall put on by the New Hampshire GOP.
Sweet.
So, yeah, but I mean, you got to, give them credit. Bush and Christie and Kasich, I mean, they, this is their only shot, and they are working very hard here. So,
well, good.
It may not be enough, but
good for them. That's nice. And
A for effort.
Yeah, totally. And I guess Bill Clinton is also working really hard. Can you tell us a little bit about the event of his that you went to, where he sort of started needling Bernie a little bit?
Sure. So, Bill Clinton was here 2 days ago. He did an event in Concord, and he didn't really come outright nasty against Sanders, which if you follow the way the Clinton campaign has dealt with Sanders so far, it can be a little, either all or nothing. Either they're, not addressing him at all, and, they're just, treating him like an agitator who's there but won't really do anything. But then they get scared, and you see attacks like the one that Chelsea Clinton had a couple weeks ago, where they're saying, he's going to dismantle the entire healthcare system and stuff. And
you
those
won't be able to go to the
backfired.
doctor.
Yes, you will not be able to go to the doctor because doctors will be, sent to prison or something. But, yeah, Bill was just sort of saying, it was softer critiques. He was just sort of making the argument that Hillary Clinton, she thinks her first impulse is to think that she can get something done, whereas Bernie sort of wants to start anew from a sort of more leftist trajectory.
That
which is not
sounds
really,
like a nice thing to say about someone. That doesn't sound like a very... This guy wants to start things new from the left. Don't vote for him, Democratic primary voters.
I know. Well, exactly. Well, that's sort of the thing. They're saying he wants to radically overthrow the system and put in place new things, which is sort of like, well, maybe we need that. Is what a lot of people are thinking. But the Clinton campaign, I guess the one thing Bill Clinton was saying, they refined their health care pitch a little bit to be a little bit less scary. He's saying we've gotten the insured rate up to 90%. It's just much easier now to try and get to 100% through existing law than to start anew. Which there's going to be a lot of disagreement over that, but I guess they're just trying to make a more pragmatic argument. We'll see if it works.
For sure. And some of the ways that Bill Clinton has criticized Bernie Sanders, they start sounding a little Reagan-esque, right? Is that a term you've used? This idea that it won't work and we can't afford it, and why do you want to spend so much money on this? Are there concerns that the way he's criticizing her almost tacitly sounds like it's lifted from the Republican talking point playbook?
The way that Bernie Sanders is criticizing Hillary Clinton?
The way Bill Clinton is criticizing Bernie Sanders.
Oh, yeah, well, I think it was more with the sort of ham-fisted criticisms that Chelsea Clinton introduced, where she was talking about how, and also from the campaign themselves, where they were sort of saying, Bernie's going to jack up your taxes by a lot. You know, we don't need that right now. You're not going to be able to go to the doctor, those sort of things. I mean, those are sort of classic Republican arguments against, you know, universal health care reform, where they make it sound like, you know, you're simultaneously going to have to pay a lot more in taxes while not getting anything for that, and you'll never be able to see the doctor again. Those, I think they backfired a lot on them, so now they're just sort of saying, well, it's just politically easier to, you know, work with what we've got now than try to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, sort of a more classic, you know, liberal versus leftist argument. But one thing that was very interesting in that poll in Iowa yesterday, I don't know if you saw that, the CNN poll, that had Sanders way ahead by like 9 points or so. We'll see if other polls are in line with that sort of top line number. But there was a statistic. If you look at the last 3 or 4 CNN polls that they've done, it's who do you trust on health care? Hillary Clinton had the lead, you know, basically 2-1 for a while, 60-30. The most recent poll in Iowa, Sanders had the lead, I think 51-45 on healthcare.
Wow.
So that shows, I mean, among Democrats. So that showed that, you know, why the Clinton campaign sort of backed off the most aggressive tack, probably.
That's really interesting that Clinton saying Bernie Sanders is going to burn down the entire healthcare system makes people say, yeah, let's trust Bernie Sanders with the healthcare system. Whoops. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So at these events, particularly the one with Bill Clinton, can you describe the mood? Are people sort of really, really excited about seeing Bill Clinton? Like, does he have celebrity status? Or are New Hampshire folks so jaded that it's like, it's another former president, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, there was a good-sized crowd there. And I would say, you know, people really appreciate his pitch, and there was a lot of applause and stuff. And I mean, Bill Clinton, he is pretty good. He almost, I mean, this is, I shouldn't even make this comparison because it's just going to be taken out of context.
Make it.
Yeah. I was just waiting for you to do it, man.
This one.
Well, he's almost, his speech is, the way he speaks is almost a little bit like Trump, but much more refined.
The way Bill Clinton speaks is like that?
Well, just in the structure of the speech. Go on. Yeah, just in the structure of the speech, in that there is no structure. He'll just sort of jump from like one idea in his head to another, to another, to another. You know, he'll just start relaying some statistic from an article he saw the other day, but he'll make it sound much more like a coherent thing in the end. So, I mean, basically what I'm saying is they each love talking a lot. But you don't, at that event, and that's the only Clinton event I've been to so far. I'm going to go to 1 or 2 more while I'm up here. But it was nothing like the energy that I've seen that I saw at the 2 Bernie events I went to yesterday. I mean, it's just incomparable, and that's just what you have when you're working with, you know, let's make some tweaks to the bureaucracy argument, you know, instead of a let's fix everything argument.
Right.
You know, let's have a revolution. You know, that sounds exciting.
People don't jump up and down and wave their arms over the head for tweaking the bureaucracy.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So a lot of these polls are showing that Bernie's kind of walking away with New Hampshire, right? That, you know, up by what, double digits? Do you think that's right? I mean, I guess looking at numbers, it seems almost hard to conceive that his lead is like that big and solidified. But from going to these rallies and talking to folks, it sounds like that's really the case.
I think it's definitely the case that he has a, you know, significant, you know, pretty close to being safe lead here. I don't know, that CNN poll the other day that had him up like 60-33. I mean, we'll see, you know, if other polls come in and confirm that. That would be enormous. And, you know, I don't want to extrapolate too much from just anecdotal interviews I've been doing with people. But, yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like Sanders has the edge here. And I'll be interested to see how the Clinton campaign begins talking about New Hampshire now. I did notice in Bill Clinton's event, he did sort of make a stray comment, you know, where he's saying, I know we're in a tough fight here with one of your neighbors. So, you know, they're probably going to begin, massaging in the idea that this is just, he's from New Hampshire, or he's from Vermont, this is New Hampshire, it's just a regional thing.
Sure.
That's going to be a much more difficult argument to make if he wins Iowa also.
Right, of course.
So,
I know we're trying to rough up the elderly gentleman who lives in the state next door, but that's okay, New Hampshireites. Okay, well, thanks a bunch, Jim. Stick around, and we'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to The Bill Press Show.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show. I'm Betsy Woodruff, politics reporter with the Daily Beast, in for Bill Press. So we have Jim Newell here, who's a reporter with Slate. You can follow him on Twitter at Jim_Newell. He is calling in from New Hampshire, and we've been talking a little bit about the Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton smackdown that is happening there. One thing that I think is really interesting about this primary is the way that both Bernie and Hillary have kind of tried to take what's largely perceived as the biggest strong suits of each other and turn those into weaknesses. So, for instance, Hillary Clinton has argued that Bernie Sanders would do a really horrible job managing healthcare, even though the argument he makes for single-payer healthcare is quite popular. in the Democratic primary and is increasingly popular as the Democratic Party kind of shifts a bit to the left. And meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is arguing that Hillary Clinton would be a bad nominee, not just because she's mainstream and establishment and centrist and a dino, but also because she's not that electable. Of course, Hillary Clinton has pitched herself as, vote for me because I'm electable, and Bernie Sanders is arguing, actually, you're not. Actually, I can beat you. Jim, what do you make of that pitch? Does that particular argument that Bernie makes, that he's more electable than Hillary, does it seem to have legs in New Hampshire?
It depends on who you talk to. I went to a Bernie Sanders debate watch party on Sunday night, and I was talking to people, and obviously these are committed Sanders supporters volunteers, and and they have no doubt that Bernie Sanders is more electable than Hillary Clinton. They all cite the same polls, which head-to-head polls, which show that against Trump or Rubio or basically anyone right now, Sanders has wider margins. They also think that Hillary Clinton just has too much baggage. That was something I heard over and over, and they think that. And someone else told me Bernie's an independent, so he will better appeal to the independent vote. Sanders yesterday at his rallies, and he was doing it in the debate on Sunday too, he's begun sort of reading these poll results in the middle of his stump speech and almost, taking sort of a guilty delight in reading them.
That's
people
very
eat
Trumpian.
it. People eat. Yeah, and it's very Trumpian. And he takes a lot of delight, especially in the ones that show him, 20 or so points ahead of Trump in New Hampshire, at least.
Mm-hmm.
But he still does have big margins in Iowa and national polls. I am not entirely sold on this. The idea, the argument that so many insurgents, whether, if you're outside the center left or center right, you're further away from the center, you say, well, look at all the energy we have.
Mm-hmm.
This clearly makes us better for the general election. But that's sort of a self-reassuring argument. But if you look at, there was a piece in Bloomberg the other day, and it's just sort of obvious if you look around. Republicans want Bernie Sanders to be the nominee.
Right.
Like, they would, they're excited about going after Hillary. I mean, that's, fun. They've been doing it for 30 years.
Right.
But Bernie would be a special gift because, they're not laying a hand on him through super PAC ads because they just want to keep him where he is and they want to help him win.
Well, and Karl Rove is boosting him, right?
Yeah, and it's all done very tongue in cheek.
Uh-huh.
But there's going to be, and I wrote this in a piece I did yesterday. There's going to be, the second he would get the nomination, there's going to be an ad with Bernie Sanders, a hammer and sickle. It's going to, say he took his honeymoon in the Soviet Union, and it's going to say, he has a $15 to $30 trillion healthcare plan.
Right, and he wants to raise taxes on everybody.
And it's to scare people.
Yeah, right.
I'm never sure. If you look at, previous presidential election results, where a sort of outsider of the establishment or an outsider of the center left or center right is nominated, McGovern gets creamed.
Right.
Goldwater gets creamed. By the time Reagan won, I guess Reagan was more conservative, but he was still, it was his third time running, and he had sort of, it was sort of his turn. Like, so I just, and I've been getting obviously a lot of grief on this because if I just question whether Bernie Sanders is,
Bernie Sanders
maybe less
supporters,
electable than he feels.
Bernie Sanders supporters don't take well to that.
No, it doesn't go over very well.
And Jim, just really quickly, because we only have about 30 seconds left, what did the people at the Bernie Sanders debate watch party think about this? What were those people like? How was that? Was it fun? Good party?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was well attended. It was in Manchester. People of all age ranges and race, men and women. I mean, it was very good. It was a good atmosphere. And, but yeah, there was no doubt that Sanders is more electable.
Huh.
And I just...
Interesting. Yeah, and I guess they're pumped about it. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, Jim. Follow Jim on Twitter at Jim Newell and read his stuff at slate.com. This is the Bill Press Show, and we'll be right back in just a bit.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A few years ago, plastic bag waste in our city came to a tipping point. It was clear we had a bag problem. My department was tasked to reduce plastic bag consumption. We needed to come up with ways to change human behavior. So we asked ourselves,
would you like a bag?
What do people really hate?
Yep.
Getting punched in the stomach. Preliminary studies showed that the consequences weren't severe enough to warrant behavioral change.
Actually, can I get that double bagged?
So we thought, what do people hate more than getting punched in the stomach? Kissing Helga.
Hey, big boy.
People didn't find her so offensive after all, so we had to get creative.
How many bags? Okay, now, pour this ice water down your pants.
We tried everything.
Eat this rat. Defuse this bomb.
Even fighting your clone. After blowing through millions of dollars of government funds on research, I came up with a brilliant idea.
Why don't we just charge 5 cents per bag?
That's a stupid idea.
Would you like a bag?
Yes.
5 cents a bag.
5 cents? 5 cents? Do I still have the option of getting punched?
Honestly, I don't know how everyone else missed it.
Why don't you just get a reusable bag?
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey guys, it's Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast, in for Bill on this Friday morning. We've been talking about Bernie Sanders. He has a new ad out that has gotten plaudits for being beautiful and bucolic, and having Simon and Garfunkel music in the background, called the best ad of the cycle. However, it's also gotten a little bit of criticism because it has the diversity of a Taylor Swift video. It looks
a lot like the weather we're going to be getting this weekend.
Yeah,
awfully white.
Right, exactly, whiter than the driven snow. Which has drawn some a little bit of jeering. What do you think? Does Simon and Garfunkel make you want to vote for Bernie Sanders more, or would you like to have a more diverse cast?
No, I mean it'll make my mom maybe vote for Bernie Sanders because Simon and Garfunkel is more her speed. But like, you know, it's a good ad. It's not a great ad. It's awfully. I thought it was kind of like,
I thought it was fine.
It's awfully. It reminded me a lot of a Howard Dean ad. Right?
I'm sorry. I thought it was a great ad.
Oh,
I really did.
Do you think it was one of the best ones?
I do, but here's
let me ask you
here's
the
the big thing about it. My dad, who is a huge conservative, called me and said, "I really enjoyed that ad," and he never says that about any Democrat.
There's an interesting
That's a huge deal.
There's an interesting thing that's going on in the ad, right? In that, when you think of socialist Democrats, you don't think of farmers and people like that, which are featured in the ad. But honest question, what did you like so much about the ad besides that?
The song. I like Simon and Garfunkel. I'm sorry.
I think what else is good about this ad is that socialism is viewed as very un-American.
Yeah.
And Bernie Sanders was basically like, I'm Bernie Sanders, I'm from Vermont, I'm a big fat socialist, but also here are a bunch of pictures of barns.
He does a good job with showing that socialism is a lot more mainstream than other people would make it out to be. But at the same time, we know on this show better than anybody, because we hear about it all the time, that Bernie has a problem with the black vote.
Yep.
And if you show no black faces in your big, incredible special ad, it's not good.
I do not disagree with that.
Not good. This is the Bill Press Show. I'm Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast. In for Bill. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back in just a second.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Societies, civilizations, in some sense, are like our bodies. If there's something systemically wrong, it's manifesting all over the place, in all our organs, and that seems to be what's going on in our world at the moment.
The system is failing all around us.
Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our jails are full and can't hold more people. Our young people are burdened with $1 trillion in student debt.
We're in a heap of trouble.
When the temperature of the Earth is starting to rise, that's a very bad sign. Our Earth is running a fever, and it's running it because it's sick in many ways.
In a country like the United States, the fact that anywhere from 45 to 50 million people are hungry, this is a problem.
We can't go on like this. We can't keep moving toward climate catastrophe, nuclear war, persistence of inequality, poverty, famine.
There is a systems problem. These are not one-off issues. They are interconnected, and we have to look at the system as a whole.
It's time to talk about alternatives. It's time to talk about what's next.
We need to be aspirational and be clear about the vision of the world that we want.
What is the system that humanizes us? What is the system that opens up our imagination of possibilities of cooperation?
Nothing is more important right now than to discuss how can we bring about this change.
As systems fail, individual and community creativity explodes, and that's what we have seen. People in this country are solving the problems themselves. They're coming up with new models and strategies, and within those models and strategies are the kernels of a systemic way to move forward.
Land trusts, cooperatively owned businesses,
sustainable energy,
state-owned banks,
urban gardening, urban farming.
These small successes taken together are a proof of concept that this can happen on a larger scale.
We're compelled to search for alternatives, not just analytically, but in how we live and what we do, how we organize our daily lives. And that has tremendous potential.
Our actions and our imagination have to match the magnitude of this problem.
We have to get out of our comfort zone. We must think with courage.
All bets are off in terms of our previous thinking. Our ways of thinking about the economy and our ways of thinking about politics have proven an abject and utter failure. The good news is we have no choice but to adopt revolutionary thinking. I like that.
That's the exciting part about this moment. When there are no rules, then people have freedom to invent and to create new things.
I have no doubt that we can create a better America.
If the people who cared about these things really joined together to do something about them, anything is possible.
The biggest worry for me is that we don't try, is that we don't push for what we know is right, for what we know is possible.
It's time for everybody who cares about this country and the future of the planet to do something about it, to get involved.
We can actually do better. We can build a better system. It's not impossible. It's a very American thing to do, to build a new system.
It's a challenge. We can do it collectively, neighborhood by neighborhood, step by step.
I think that the world that we're on the verge of is a bright and beautiful and interesting one, complex, local, interconnected. I hope we get there.
It's time to talk about what's next. Please come and sign our statement at thenextsystem.org.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American. As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook. Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hi, guys. Good morning. This is Betsy Woodruff. I'm a politics reporter with the Daily Beast in for Bill Press. You can follow me on Twitter, and you should, at Woodruff Bets. We are live on Free Speech TV and TawkrTV. You can watch Free Speech on DirecTV and Dish. Talker is youtube.com/TawkrTV. You should immediately follow us on Twitter at BP Show. You should call in if you have any feelings or thoughts that you'd like to share this morning. 866-55-PRESS. That's 866-557-7377. Super easy to remember. Our executive producer is Peter Ogburn. Good morning, Peter.
Hi, Betsy.
So nice to see you this morning.
Wonderful to see you. We've spent 2 wonderful hours together in this room already.
It feels like a lifetime.
Doesn't it?
It feels like a lifetime.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Oh, get out of here. We also have Jamie Benson running the board. Hi, Jamie.
Hey, Betsy.
And we have Ray Rogers, who is taking phone calls if you have anything that you'd like to call us about, and Cyprian Boulding running the video. For this next segment, we are joined in studio by Joel Gerke, a buddy of mine who covers Capitol Hill and Republican presidential campaigns at the Washington Examiner. Good morning, Joel. How's it going?
Good morning.
It's delightful to have you here. You should follow Joel on Twitter at JoelMentum. Like for instance, if Joel was running for president on the Republican side and his poll numbers went up by 2 points, that's what we would be calling it.
We'd be calling it Joel Mentum.
We'd be calling it Joel Mentum. So it's good. Yeah. And Jamie, we were talking about some of the more amusing things that have happened on the Republican trail. This segment, we're going to be looking a little bit at a fun question as to whether or not the fact that Ted Cruz doesn't really tithe is a liability for him. Of course, there are some more curious liabilities for candidates. One problem that Marco Rubio had over the past few weeks was that he was photographed wearing a pair of boots that looked a little bit like sort of go-go boots.
I gotta be honest with you, they're bad boots.
They're bad boots. They're not
like
good.
Extremely high-heeled. They're not cowboy boots.
Yeah.
They look like something from Fashion Bug.
Totally. It's literally like if you imagine go-go boots, but they're kind of low cut is what they look like. And he got ribbed for that last night on some of the late night shows. Do we have audio?
When I was in college, I bought some boots like that, and I remember the old foam parties. Remember that? You don't remember that?
Yeah, foam party?
Yeah. So I bought some of those, and when I left the foam party, they were white. Because the foam washed the dye out of it. It was really bad. So these are like a step up.
You used to go to those dance parties?
I went one time.
I think we should bring it back out. Don't let people bully you, man. They look cool. They're fashion forward. You're Marco Rubio. You can do whatever you want to do. You're running for president.
I just can't tell if I was being super condescending there or not.
I mean, I would hope so, frankly, because
you're fashion forward.
Why are you going to a party with foam?
Also,
is that a thing?
Also, it's totally a thing. Foam parties. It's like
it's still a missed opportunity for Fallon.
Yeah, totally. It's like
Wait a minute, that's
do you
totally
not
a
know
thing?
about these? Yeah, these were a thing when we were in college. It's like you get like a frat house. And
I
understand you didn't go to college.
I'm out of the demo.
No, but it's like this. I actually did not ever go to foam parties because I was too busy reading Dostoevsky in college. But it's like these frat houses, and they filled them up with this yucky foam, and it's gross. But apparently, Marco Rubio would go to these parties.
Hardest of passes. That sounds like the worst time in the world.
It sounds really bad.
A foam party.
Really bad.
I was busy studying in college, clearly.
Speaking of poor choices, McKay...
So much worse. I work security.
Yeah, there you go. Right, the narking on the foam parties.
Narc.
I was crashing foam parties. It's the only way I got invited.
I'm just so amazed all of us are successful and normal. It's really cool.
Well,
speaking of good choices and moral judgment, McKay Coppins at BuzzFeed has a story that just went up. Headlined, Ted Cruz faces questions about his tithing history. Ted Cruz has made his religious faith a central part of his pitch to conservative evangelical voters. However, numbers indicate that he only tithed about 1%. Do we have McKay on the line yet, or are we still getting connected there? McKay,
I'm
are you
here.
there?
Hi,
Good
McKay.
morning. Thanks for.
I thought you were going in a different direction when you started that transition. With speaking of poor choices, we have McKay Coppins here on the phone.
Nope.
Got to transition. Why is he here? Why did we do this?
Thanks for calling us, McKay. What do you think about Rubio's boots? Just kidding. So this story is really kind of fun and amusing. How much of a problem is this for Ted Cruz that he doesn't give money to church?
Well, I don't know. I mean, in some ways, this is just like a religious spin on a typical campaign story, right? Which is we always kind of examine the charitable giving of presidential candidates, and there are always a series of stories written about it. The difference is that Ted Cruz is running not just as a presidential candidate or as an outsider, or as a Tea Partier, but as a devout evangelical Christian. And he has rallied Christians in Iowa. That's kind of the bulk of his support there. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I had started to hear about this back in December, just from a couple random evangelicals who were like, "Have you heard this thing about Ted Cruz? How he didn't tithe?" I thought it was just kind of silly, but then I kept hearing about it more and more, and so I finally started calling some kind of Baptist leaders, evangelical leaders. And they all were both people who are lined up with other campaigns and people who are neutral and kind of like Ted Cruz, all of them said that it kind of was an issue for them. They were like, you can't, the Bible is very clear. 1/10 of your income is supposed to go to charity and church. And so I don't know. I mean, look, I think the reason this could be an issue for Ted Cruz is that he has kind of faced this rumble of speculation that he's feigning his very devout faith for a long time now.
Right.
You go back. I write in my book about how he advisors who worked with him earlier in his career thought never knew him to be very religious, never knew him to go to church, are surprised that, he's running as kind of a culture warrior now.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, of course, we've heard that, the leaked audio from his fundraisers in New York, where social conservatives later would criticize him for not being, staunchly opposed to same-sex marriage.
Right.
So anyway, this has been like a narrative he's faced for a while, and so the tithing thing, I think, is just one more piece of evidence that his opponents are trying to use to show that he's not a true Christian.
Ted
that he's
Cruz,
kind of
wolf in sheep's clothing, fake Christian.
Exactly.
Big if true.
A false prophet is the headline that Politico used, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that's a good one. By the way, to our listeners, McKay is the author of a new book, The Wilderness, which is kind of an inside look at what's happened to the Republican Party since Obama was elected, and they've been kind of scrambling to get things together.
Unsolicited plug, by the way. I gave out several copies for his Christmas gifts.
Oh, that's super
nice of you. How about that?
That's super nice of you.
That's right.
Yeah. How about that, McKay?
How many copies did you give out, Betsy?
Oh, too many to count. I couldn't even pull the number out of my head. Such a fake number. But anyway, I hope our listeners give out copies of this book for President's Day or whatever holiday is coming up.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Tell you something. You want to tell someone you love them.
Okay, so Joel, what do you think? Ted Cruz, should he have been tithing more? Do you need to shell out more cash to prove you're a good Christian?
Well, the rules are that you should be tithing more, but it's also really hard for me to believe that the people who, like, evangelicals and American Protestants is a big universe. It's sort of hard to believe that the people who know that you're supposed to be tithing, and that means giving 10% of your money to the church, like it says in Leviticus or somewhere.
Right.
Also, it kind of feels like those folks are most likely to think it's kind of gauche of Huckabee to be going after him on that, because in theory those things are anonymous.
Like, you're supposed to tithe, but you're also not supposed to judge.
Yeah, you pass the plate. You don't look at what the number on the other guy's check.
You're supposed to tithe, but you're also not supposed to be a Philistine.
Well, yeah. So just for context, yeah, because I talked to Huckabee about this, because I called him and I asked if he had any comment on it, and he surprisingly engaged for quite a while, and talked about how you can't say you're putting the Lord first if he's last in your budget, and talked about how he and his wife have always tithed. And actually, when I asked if there was any public record of his tithing, he actually offered to have his accountant email me, he offered to forward an email from his accountant.
I thought you'd never ask.
That he had tithed.
Yes, indeed, there is.
I was like, well, yeah, sure. Go ahead. He actually did. So I can confirm that according to his accountant, he did tithe. But I think that is a good point.
What a good election.
When the story went up, I saw a lot of people, a lot of kind of evangelicals on Twitter and Facebook kind of be like, oh, that's really kind of self-righteous and pious of Huckabee to prove how much he tithes to you, and
totally.
Then use that to trash Ted Cruz.
Yeah, totally.
And it's also really at odds with what he did in 2008. If he's trying to has any hope of capturing the magic from 2008 again, that time around he was the funniest, most winsome, best candidate off the cuff of anybody in the field.
Delightful, yeah.
Especially next to John McCain and Mitt Romney. His whole appeal was that he's, he feels like the wittiest Republican since Reagan. And so when it's 8 years later and, the former pastor is knocking Cruz for whether he tithes enough and breaking out his own financial filings to prove that he tithes more, I'm not really sure that's how he punches up.
Yeah, no kidding. That undermines the pitch a little bit. Well, thanks so much for being with us, McKay. Everybody follow McKay on Twitter at McKay Coppins, and buy his book, The Wilderness, a perfect President's Day gift or a 4th of July gift or whatever. This is the Bill Press Show. I'm Betsy Woodruff in for Bill, and we'll be right back in just a second.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive, and they're really good, that you will have them twice a day, as many people in America do. So you see the kinds of foods you end up with are these labor-intensive foods and desserts. These special occasion foods become everyday foods when we let industry cook for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is Betsy Woodruff. I'm a politics reporter with the Daily Beast, in for Bill Press. I'm joined in studio by executive producer Peter Ogburn.
Hello, Betsy.
Hello, Peter. Nice to see you again, as we've been talking about for the last 2 hours. It's still nice to see you. And we also have Joel Gerke, a politics reporter at the Washington Examiner, who focuses on covering Republicans and conservatives in Congress. And Joel had an interesting piece out just recently, yesterday, right? Talking to Senator John Cornyn, the senior senator from Texas, who does not seem to be a particularly big fan of Ted Cruz, but talking to him actually about another presidential contender, Hillary Clinton. And Cornyn told you Hillary should be indicted.
Yeah, he was talking to Hugh Hewitt, actually, the Cornyn
Oh, okay,
interview. Yeah, so Cornyn said that she should be that she probably should be indicted, but probably won't because everybody knows his exact phrase was, it seems like the Clintons, play by a different set of rules. And he basically said Attorney General Loretta Lynch is a political appointee, and it's just tough for him to believe that President Obama's team would lower the boom on her like that.
Interesting. Okay, if you're a caller listening and you have thoughts on whether or not Hillary Clinton should go to jail, give us a call.
Share them.
866-55-PRESS, 866-557-7377. So basically, Cornyn argues that there's a conspiracy theory because of political appointees that's keeping Hillary from being indicted. Of course, the flip side of this is that Hillary Clinton argues that there's a conspiracy theory because of political appointees that's resulting in her even being investigated in the first place. Is that right?
Sort of. So Cornyn, I don't think is getting to the place where he's saying there's a conspiracy theory yet, because the FBI investigation is ongoing, and the FBI is clearly taking it really seriously, has a lot of people working on it. He's prospecting a little bit, saying how he thinks this would turn out.
Right.
But the former Attorney General Mukasey is out making the same argument today in the Wall Street Journal. Basically,
Mukasey is no shrinking violet about going out on a limb about making arguments. Though, right?
There's a consensus on the right. It seems.
The consensus on the right is that Hillary Clinton should go to jail.
Is that she's done basically what, at a minimum, what Petraeus did, or even the WikiLeaks case. One of the laws that came into play there that Manning was charged with was basically a violation of the Espionage Act by removing documents from where they should be and giving them to unauthorized persons, which you could argue happen, or certainly a lot of Republicans would argue is happening when she's forwarding emails back and forth with Jake Sullivan.
Yeah, now I think the Hillary team's response to this is interesting because they've kind of been across the board as far as how they talk about this investigation and the leaks regarding it. Her spokesman, Brian Fallon, said either yesterday or the day before that he thought the Inspector General of the intelligence community was basically a Republican mole, and that he was sneaking in and running interference for the GOP and going after Hillary Clinton and part of a vast right-wing conspiracy.
I was going to say, wow, the return of the vast right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah, totally. Those Obama appointees, bunch of dinos over there. But then yesterday, Hillary was on the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer on CNN. And she did not back up her guy. Wolf Blitzer asked her, do you think the Inspector Generals, by the way, are independent folks appointed by the president to keep an eye on every different government agency. Every agency has one. They release reports from time to time. The reports are always really big news. A lot of the crazy stories you hear about government waste and stuff are from inspector generals who found
They're these executive branch watchdogs.
Totally. Executive branch watchdogs. I think a lot of people don't realize what inspector generals are. They're a big deal. They're serious. They're grown-ups. Yeah, they do really interesting work. But Hillary did not stand with her spokesman on that. Any thoughts on this? How does Hillary sort of defend herself, and how are Democrats in Congress defending her? When you've talked to Democrats, are they saying, yeah, this IG is rogue, or are they saying they don't want to talk about it?
I talked to Ben Cardin. He's the top Democrat on the Foreign Relations Committee yesterday, and he didn't want any part of it. He certainly didn't rule it out, which is sort of notable on its own. When you ask him, do you think the Inspector General could be going rogue like this, coordinating with your Republican colleagues? Do you think there's a conspiracy like that?
Yeah. And Cardin didn't rule it out.
He didn't say, no, that's impossible, but he also said, I don't want to add any more speculation to this until I have a lot more information.
Boo! Lame. Speculate.
Speculate. The funny thing is that he was on his way right then to meet Bob Corker, the Foreign Relations Committee chairman, in a secure location in the Capitol, so that they could talk about these Clinton emails. I talked to Corker just a few minutes before, and he said they were going there they had to have this meeting because the stuff that the Inspector General had talked about being on her server is stuff that the Foreign Relations Chair isn't authorized to read. They don't have...
Interesting.
And he was upset about this. He called it a gap, but this special access program stuff, he's not cleared for.
So do you think Bernie Sanders is making a strategic mistake by not going after her on these emails? Is this a missed opportunity for him, or... I don't know. What do you think, Peter? Do you think Bernie Sanders is missing an opportunity to sort of put some points on the board?
No. Because I think this is just what Bernie does, right? Like he's already established himself as not really caring about the emails. I think he thinks he can win bigger points in different areas, right?
Yeah.
And so if he's the serious issues guy, right? Like he thinks he can win on those issues, not on personal attacks.
Personal.
I don't want to get about your damn emails. Maybe more personal attacks.
Okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
I just want to put on my long underwear and wait for the snow.
We're all gonna die. We're not going to survive.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that makes sense. Anybody else whose opinions seem to stand out on this? Any other good takes, or is that it?
I'm pretty torn about whether Sanders should be going after Clinton or not. Because he could use it to go after the competency thing that she's trying to hit him with.
Right.
But he
maybe
also
not.
risks alienating the Democratic
I think
base.
once he's already gone on record as he has about not caring, it's tough to go back.
You can't flip-flop.
Right.
Well, cool. Good chat. Thanks for being here, Joel. You can follow Joel on Twitter at Joel Mentum. I'm Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast, and this is the Bill Press Show. We will be back really, really soon.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you come.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
This is Betsy Woodruff, a politics reporter with the Daily Beast, in for Bill on this Friday. For this next half an hour, we have Daniel Strauss, a politics reporter at Politico. You can follow him on Twitter at DanielStrauss4. We're going to talk about so many interesting things, but first, we have an important interjection.
I have
Peter.
to get this in because we're on Twitter at BP Show. You're also on Twitter at Woodruff Betts. We take comments all throughout the show, all throughout the day. And when in an earlier segment, we were talking about Marco Rubio and his foam parties that he went to. Right? So Amy Calvert weighs in. She's wanted to let us know on Twitter. Foam parties are awesome. Check your clothes at the door. Mix, mingle, dance, and get wild.
Well, that's interesting.
I didn't know that's how it worked.
So foam parties are basically like the nudist Huntington Beach situation.
Oh,
plus
yeah.
foam.
Just with foam.
Interesting. I
Mix,
am so excited
mingle,
for
dance, and get
enterprising
wild.
reporters to find people who went to mingle and foam parties.
I'm never going to go. I'm never going to go to a foam party.
Never going to whatever.
I'm done.
It sounds pretty hygienic to me. I don't know.
No,
What do you think, Daniel? Foam parties, hygienic or nah?
Foam parties, yes or no?
I think I've been to a foam party once.
Yeah? How was it?
I think, there was a lot of foam. It was not too memorable because I can't quite remember. I think it was in college. Pretty sure it was in college.
I hope it was.
I don't know. There was a lot
like
of foam. It was goof off. It was not some kind of like. It doesn't disqualify me from running for office.
Is it the kind of place that you would expect Marco Rubio to fit in?
No, I don't know. He's the face of a new generation, right? He's supposed to be, make a new American century. So, get drunk in college or get drunk in high school and then go to a foam party, I guess. I don't know.
Makes sense to me. So you're in New Hampshire right now, right?
I am.
Whereabouts?
I am in Manchester right now at my hotel for the moment after a day of driving around the state. One thing you remember about on the trail reporting is that something like 70% of it is being in your car.
I know. It's like mind-sucking.
Yeah.
But you get to listen to a lot of great radio.
Man.
The Bill Press Show.
I need someone to tell me which radio stations are the best in New Hampshire because I'll be listening to them a lot.
Lucky for you, Bill Press Show's callers. If you have any good insights on good radio shows in New Hampshire, on foam parties, or on the candidates we're about to talk about, John Kasich and Bernie Sanders, give us a call, 866-55-PRESS or 866-557-7377. Daniel, you wrote the other day about what was it, Chris Christie accusing Kasich of hiding behind his super PAC. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? And one thing I'm especially curious about is if New Hampshire voters care. Like if they're as upset about super PACs on the Republican side as they are on the Dem side. What is this accusation and how much does it matter?
So basically the argument is that the Kasich campaign has been, or the Kasich world and Kasich super PAC has been battering Chris Christie. And Christie, in response, has shot back that the super PAC, New Day for America, is doing the Kasich campaign's dirty work. Mm-hmm. And since super PACs are barred from coordinating from the campaign, there is some separation. And Christie's argument is that Kasich's people, some of whom work for the super PAC, as most campaigns send some of their aides to work for an endorsed or blessed super PAC, are doing the negative stuff, and Kasich can say, "Oh, that's not my campaign." Mm-hmm. They've been bashing Christie on his economic record. and job creation in New Jersey, and that sparked Christie to lash out. It's part of a larger sort of scuffle we're seeing in New Hampshire among the quote-unquote establishment candidates. Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, John Kasich, and to an extent Marco Rubio, who are all jockeying to be number one among that subsection of the GOP in the New Hampshire primary.
Do you think Chris Christie and John Kasich are like... Is Chris Christie suggesting that Kasich might be breaking the law?
No, he's not. He's just suggesting that that John Kasich is just not punching up to where he should be.
What do you think about Kasich Mentum? I feel like that's been kind of the narrative of the last week, that that Kasich all of a sudden is the guy that's pulling away. Have you talked to excited Kasich supporters?
I have not talked to excited Kasich supporters, but I have not been here yet. I'm going to be here for 2+ weeks, but I haven't been here for 24 hours yet.
Okay.
So I'm planning on doing that. We have my
you didn't
colleague.
get mugged by Kasich supporters when you got off the plane.
I have not gotten mugged by Kasich supporters. I have actually, so far, only been writing or covering Democrats while I'm here, which is usually not my beat. But I will be switching back to Republicans soon. So there have been polls that show Kasich out ahead. One of the most recent polls, I think, was a CNN poll, which showed Kasich and Christie tied. But the thing about that, at about 4%, but the thing about that is that a subsection of that poll showed that more people would prefer Christie as their second choice if their first choice didn't win than Kasich, which I think is really telling, because essentially the polling averages all show sort of a three-man race between the establishment candidates, and Kasich and Christie tied. So you have to look at the crosstabs here. So maybe it's hard to tell, but I have my doubts about Kasich Mentum.
Interesting. I buy it. Makes sense to me.
You do? Why do you buy it?
I do, because I feel like we have a different, moderate Mentum every week or so. And something like 1/3 of New Hampshire primary voters don't decide who they're going to vote for until the week before the primary. Like, this stuff is all so up in the air that even if Kasich Mentum is happening, it's not really momentum in sort of the physics definition of the term, because it's more like Kasich boop. Like, the fact that it's happening now does not mean it's going to be happening next week, right?
Well, like, if that was to happen, it would be awfully reminiscent of 2008, right? Because everybody sort of had their moment. Or maybe it was 2012 too. Like, Michelle Bachmann had her moment, Herman Cain had his moment, Rick Santorum had his moment, right? And they all just sort of surged up. And we haven't seen a lot of that this time around. It's been pretty consistently Trump, with a couple of dashes of Cruz.
Pretty much all Trump all the time.
It's pretty much all, like, Carly Fiorina had a little run there, but then now she's way back down at the bottom.
I think also, like, people get so tired and emotionally exhausted talking about Trump all the time that it's like, oh my God, Kasich went from 6% to 7%.
right.
Kasich Mentum.
Yeah.
Wall-to-wall coverage. Yeah, I don't know. So, Daniel, I have another theory I want to run by you in, like, this last 60 seconds before we go to break. My theory that we talked about earlier is that Republicans' first chance to stop Donald Trump is also their last chance. Because if he wins Iowa, he's going to walk away with New Hampshire. He's going to walk away with South Carolina. Every single person in Texas is going to vote for him. And he's pretty much got it in the bag. Do you think that is correct, incorrect, or unclear?
Run that by me again.
So my theory is that if Donald Trump wins Iowa, it's pretty much all over. Do you think that's right or not?
It's possible, yeah. Okay. I mean, especially because I think the narrative that popped up recently that Cruz was going to win Iowa sort of cemented that. And it will, if Cruz loses Iowa as he was supposed to, and Trump wins after this Cruz surge, then Trump will be able to loudly say that Cruz is a loser. And
he lost.
Sad.
He lost.
Sad.
And he lost, right? And and he goes into New Hampshire. No one here expects Trump to do poorly in New Hampshire at this point.
Right.
And then he goes into Iowa, which is a very socially conservative state, friendly to the pitch that Trump is making, and then it just goes from there.
Right.
But that said, let's remember that 6 months ago, or 8 months ago, Scott Walker was the sure thing to win Iowa, right?
So we're all doing a great job at our jobs of
right.
predicting what's going to happen
it was,
in the world.
you know, that
lots
at
of
that
lots
time,
of talent on display
even,
here.
Right. Everyone was asking questions to other candidates like, what are you going to do after Iowa because Scott Walker has us in the bag? And now Scott Walker is not in the race anymore.
It's really amazing. Okay, well, we have to go to break. We'll be right back with more from Daniel Strauss at Daniel Strauss4 at Politico. So stick around and we'll talk more soon.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You know, sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple and they add up and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you know, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that could be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody could look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. You know, and like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
Maybe not as loud as Donald Trump, but he's a hell of a lot smarter. This is your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election, The Bill Press Show.
And this is Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast. And for Bill this morning, we've got Daniel Strauss of Politico on the line, calling us from New Hampshire. Daniel you just had a really fascinating piece drawing some rhetorical parallels between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? To what extent are the two most uniquely coiffed contenders in this race merging? How much overlap is there here?
It's funny. The big thing the big thing to notice about this is that there is a large portion of independents in New Hampshire, and a Sanders surge, which seems to be happening here, threatens Trump, because those are some of the same voters that are interested in both Trump and Sanders. And it's also stylistically not too hard to understand that both Sanders and Trump have this very optimistic way of speaking. Sanders wants to expand Social Security, expand health care, free college tuition, and beat down the billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And billionaires. And then Trump prides himself on not taking money from those same corrupt billionaires. I'm not going to be able to do it. And also it has a very optimistic set of promises about policy changes, such as saying we're going to replace Obamacare with something so great, so amazing, without going into real detail about that.
Yeah,
and terrific. So it's funny. These two candidates, despite having extremely different policy positions, do have sort of the same pitch. But last night, as I reported, Sanders took a small victory lap and noted that he beats Trump in recent polling by more than Hillary Clinton does in New Hampshire nationally.
Right. A little poll chest thumping, which seems to be an emerging theme.
We're right now in a primary setting right now. So let's get to the general election where there's a new block of voters who come out. My
favorite thing about this is that it's so nice that nobody is saying the only poll that matters is the poll on election day. Like, that's not true. Polls before election day matter. Like, they're a big deal, right?
Absolutely. They affect everything.
I know. And I don't know. I just remember, before I started covering politics, hearing that all the time and thinking, oh, polls, whatever. You can't really believe them. A lot of them are wrong. And on the one hand, yes, a lot of them are wrong and nonsense and have subpar methodology and have real problems. But they also, they're pretty significant when it comes to whether or not voters get excited about someone, whether or not voters feel good about their candidate. And also, of course, if you think your candidate's going to win, you're more likely to go out and vote and help your candidate win. So that kind of optimism is incredibly effective. And I think that's why it probably makes sense for Bernie Sanders to wave these polls over his head and talk about how great he's doing. Although
We're doing great.
I know, I can't do the Bernie
We're
Sanders
doing great.
accent.
We're going to keep it up. We're going to keep fighting the good fight.
Better than Hillary Clinton.
Look, we're going to be here. We're going to stand up for the.
But one last point I
we're
want to
not here to stand
here.
up for the billionaire class.
One last point I want to interject here. Sanders, like Trump, also prides himself on as fighting against the establishment, but he's much more careful in bashing Hillary than Trump is in bashing his opponents, including Jeb Bush. Yeah.
You don't say. Well, on that note, that's helpful. Thank you, Daniel. Trump. It's good that Sanders is showing at least some restraint. At least somebody's being rhetorically responsible in this race. I'm Betsy Woodruff. That was Daniel Strauss at Daniel Strauss4 on Twitter, and we will be right back with a really fun video of a Bernie Sanders reporter or fun audio in just a second. So stick around.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
When I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip or pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. They really press our buttons. They activate our dopamine network, our cravings. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. And then the last point about corporate cooking that's important to understand is they cook different stuff than you do at home. What they're good at, in general, they don't cook that well, but things like chips, they cook incredibly well. And here's a classic food that if you make it yourself, if you've ever made French fries, you have to wash the potatoes, you have to peel the potatoes, you have to slice the potatoes, you have to fry them in a lot of oil, you have to spatter your entire stovetop, you have to clean up, and then you have this pot of oil you have to get rid of. I mean, it's really difficult, and it's a pain. They're wonderful, but it's a pain. And if you make them yourself, you'll only eat them every 6 weeks, 2 months, because it's too much work. But when you let corporations cook for you, it's so simple and so inexpensive for us. Eat anything you want, just cook it yourself.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And this is Betsy Woodruff with the Daily Beast Politics Reporter in for Bill. So as a cherry on top of this delightful morning, we've got audio from a video clip that Bernie Sanders' campaign put out. Now, the Iowa caucuses are in just 9 days, the kickoff of the presidential election season, at least officially. And caucusing in Iowa is actually kind of complicated. It's not as simple as just going to a voting booth and coloring in a circle. You have to get there by a specific time. If you aren't there by 6:30, you aren't allowed to be there. There's a bunch of steps involved. It's totally doable, but it's not super duper easy. So Bernie Sanders' campaign made this little YouTube video explaining step by step how to do it. And the star of the YouTube video is this elderly woman, longtime Iowa state senator, Iowa caucusing expert, obviously knows her stuff. And for most of the video, she just kind of sedately and calmly, grandmotherly, walks you through how it works to actually caucus. But then at the very end, there's kind of an amusing little surprise for people who stuck around for the whole video. And here it is.
The establishment doesn't think we'll show up on February 1st.
In fact, they're counting on it. Prove them wrong and caucus for Bernie.
It's gonna be awesome.
So just sort of, everybody loves a foul-mouthed little old lady, don't you think, Peter?
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, that's my sweet spot. I love that. But the interesting thing that you're hitting on here with the Iowa caucuses and how much more difficult they are than just a regular show up and vote thing, I think really does help Bernie. Right? Because his people are just
they're so excited.
Intense.
Right. And they can't wait to hike through massive snowdrifts to get to their precinct place by 6:29 and then stand around all night waving signs and wearing Bernie gear. Yeah. And of course, Iowa was kind of the beginning of the end for Hillary back in 2008. There's this hilarious Washington Post story by David Farenthold about how Hillary's campaign in 2008 gave out snow shovels to people as if Iowans didn't already have snow shovels. And he tracked down some of these folks who had leftover snow shovels from Hillary. And, super nice, friendly, affable Midwesterners well, I have my snow shovel, but I already had one. And I decided not to vote for it. Now I have Thanks a lot, Hillary. That's really nice of you.
I have one for the back drive and now one for the front drive.
I love the Midwest. They should be in charge of everything. Well,
can you imagine, though, if this is Hillary's downfall again, because the campaign, one of the things the campaign has been saying, this whole time is like, we really need to win Iowa. We want to win Iowa. And now they're kind of saying like, hey, it's no big deal. We might not win Iowa. Hey.
It's fine. Like, probably New Hampshire is going to be cool. And then we'll be in South Carolina. And black people don't like Bernie Sanders. So don't worry about it.
We know we're going to win there.
Yeah, we got this. We got this, guys. Everything is cool. I don't know. I'm just so happy and relieved as a reporter that the Democratic primary actually freaking matters, because I was worried it was going to be just sort of Hillary waltzing through these early states without any contest. And purely from like a self-serving journalistic perspective, it's like, whoa, we actually have a story here. Awesome.
Well,
we've
been tiptoeing up to this point for so long that like we're about to start getting some votes.
I know.
People are going to start voting.
It's getting real.
Yeah.
It's going to be bleep. Awesome. Anyway, it has been such a delight being in here this morning for Bill.
Let me just say thank you very much. It's your first time doing it. It won't be your last.
Get out.
That was great stuff. We love having you. This was wonderful. Seriously.
This is totally a blast. I'm just keeping my eye on the clock for that hard close here. Getting my radio.
You're a radio
sea legs
professional now.
in.
You know what's coming.
I know. I feel like a kid who took a car for a drive and didn't totally screw the pooch.
By all means, stay safe this weekend.
Oh my God, I know.
All right. Everybody who might be on the East Coast, it's been nice knowing you all. I anticipate Washington, D.C. will just be a crater in the ground covered in snow by Monday.
I'm literally going straight to my parents' house in Purcellville, Virginia after this, and I'm going to sit in front of a fireplace for the next 2 days, and it's going to be the best. And hopefully nothing will burn down.
Good luck.
This is The Bill Press Show. I'm Betsy Woodruff at Woodruff Bets. Thanks for listening, and have a lovely and toasty warm weekend to all of you. Goodbye.
This is The Bill Press Show.